Westminster is on fire. Keir Starmer's leadership isn't wobbling. It's collapsing in real time. A no-confidence vote triggered by what Labour MPs are calling the ultimate Brexit betrayal. And tonight, we're watching a political execution unfold. This isn't another Westminster drama. This is the endgame for a leader who promised to unite Britain, but may have just destroyed his own party instead. The man who positioned himself as the careful, calculated alternative to chaos now finds himself at the centre of the biggest political storm in a generation. And the question everyone's asking isn't if he'll survive, it's how spectacular the fall will be. If you want the unfiltered truth on what's really happening in British politics, hit that subscribe button now, because this story's about to get explosive and you don't want to miss a single development. Here's what you need to know. For weeks, whispers circulated through Parliament corridors. Something was wrong. Senior Labour figures meeting in private. Hushed conversations ending abruptly when others approached. Phone calls taken in empty committee rooms. Then the leak came. Starmer made a deal. A secret Brexit arrangement that insiders say surrenders everything Leave voters fought for. The details are devastating. Fishing rights extended to Brussels until 2038. Nearly 15 more years of EU control over British waters. European judges creeping back into UK courts through the back door of regulatory alignment. Defence commitments tied to foreign oversight, undermining the sovereignty that Brexit was supposed to guarantee. Regulatory powers quietly surrendered in exchange for market access that many argue Britain already had leverage to negotiate. To Brexit heartland MPs, this isn't compromise, it's surrender. It's the very thing they promised their constituents would never happen. And the reaction? Pure fury. Labour MPs who campaigned on respecting the referendum result now feel lied to. They stood on doorsteps in 2019, in 2024, telling working-class voters that Labour had learned its lesson, that the party finally understood what Brexit meant to communities that felt ignored by Westminster elites. Now those same MPs are being called liars by the very people they represent. Fishing communities in Grimsby and Hartlepool are demanding answers. These aren't abstract policy debates to them. These are livelihoods, traditions, identities built over generations. Town hall meetings have turned confrontational. Local Labour branches are in revolt. Constituency offices flooded with angry calls and emails. The betrayal isn't just political, it's personal. Social media exploded with hashtags like Starmer out, and Brexit betrayal trending within hours. Not just in the UK, globally. Political observers from Washington to Brussels watching a major European democracy tear itself apart over the issue that's defined British politics for a decade. Emergency meetings called, alliances shattered, trust evaporated, and through it all, one name dominates every conversation. Starmer. But here's where it gets darker. This rebellion wasn't spontaneous. Senior Labour figures had been watching Starmer for weeks, monitoring his every move, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Some say the orchestration began the moment the Brexit deal was first proposed in private cabinet discussions. Others claim the plotting goes back months, to when Starmer first signalled his willingness to soften Brexit positions for political gain. The leaked Brexit deal was their weapon, a perfectly timed detonation designed to cause maximum damage. Private frustrations that had simmered for months became public revolt overnight. Committee rooms erupted in shouting matches so loud that security wondered if physical confrontations might break out. MPs stormed out of meetings, some in tears, others in rage. Journalists chased every hint of defection, every rumour of another MP ready to abandon ship. And Starmer? Sources close to the leadership say he's lost control completely. Gone is the unflappable barrister who built his reputation on calm precision. Instead, witnesses describe a man pacing halls at midnight, unable to sleep, unable to think straight, snapping at aides who've served him loyally for years, lashing out at allies who now question everything he's done. The mask of calm leadership has cracked wide open, revealing a man cornered and desperate, watching his life's work crumble in real time. One senior Labour source, speaking on condition of anonymity, described the atmosphere as worse than anything since the fall of Thatcher. Another compared it to the dying days of Gordon Brown's premiership, when everyone knew the end was coming, but no one could stop it. The difference? This is happening faster, more viciously, with more anger and less mercy. Meanwhile, his political enemies are circling like sharks smelling blood in the water. Nigel Farage wasted no time branding Starmer the ultimate traitor of Brexit, declaring that only Reform UK can defend British sovereignty against politicians willing to sell out their own country. In speeches across the country, Farage has painted Starmer as everything wrong with the Westminster establishment: disconnected, elitist, contemptuous of working people's concerns. And the message is landing. Polls show reform surging as voters abandon Labour in droves. In traditional Labour heartlands that swung Conservative in 2019, reform is now polling second or even first. The Brexit-supporting working class that Labour desperately needs to win back is fleeing to a party that didn't even exist in its current form 5 years ago. Political analysts call it a realignment. Others call it an extinction-level event for Labour. The Conservatives, despite their own chaos and internal divisions, watch with grim satisfaction as their main rival implodes from within. One senior Tory strategist admitted off the record that Starmer's collapse could hand them the next election on a silver platter, not because they've won voters over, but because Labour has driven them away. Another Conservative MP, barely containing his glee, said this could redraw Britain's entire political map for a generation. Inside Labour, the atmosphere is toxic. Trust has evaporated completely. Senior figures position themselves for succession, circling Starmer's weakened leadership, like predators waiting for the wounded animal to finally fall. Names whispered in corridors, potential replacements already calculating their leadership pitches, already thinking about how they'll distance themselves from Starmer's disaster. Younger MPs calculate which side of history they want to stand on, support Starmer and risk being tainted by association, or join the rebellion and risk looking disloyal. The party discipline that once held them together has shattered completely, loyalty replaced by raw survival instinct. Every conversation carries weight. Every glance across the chamber feels like potential betrayal. Every text message could be screenshotted and leaked. And then came the night that changed everything. The no-confidence vote arrived like a thunderstorm over Westminster. By evening, crowds had gathered outside Parliament, their chants echoing through the streets and audible even in the deepest corridors of power. Banners waved, megaphones blared. The anger that had been building for weeks finally had a focal point, a moment of reckoning. Inside, MPs filed into the chamber with faces etched in apprehension, knowing each vote could determine not just Starmer's fate, but the future of British politics itself. Some looked resolute, having made their decision days ago. Others looked tormented, still wrestling with conscience and calculation right up to the final moment. The air was electric with tension, cameras trained on every movement, microphones capturing every whisper, every nervous laugh, every whispered prayer. Starmer sat stone-faced, trying desperately to project control and confidence. But even his closest allies could see him breaking under pressure, the jaw clenched too tight, the eyes darting around the chamber, counting heads, calculating odds, the hands gripping the bench in front of him like a drowning man clutching driftwood. The silence before the vote was suffocating, almost unbearable. This wasn't just a parliamentary procedure, it was a trial, a public execution, a political career dying in slow motion before millions of witnesses. As votes were counted, tension mounted by the second. Every tally brought waves of speculation rippling through the chamber. Outside, millions watched live on television and smartphones, glued to screens as a leader's fate hung in balance. In pubs and living rooms across Britain, people who normally ignore Westminster politics leaned forward, captivated by the spectacle. Whispers circulated that several high-profile MPs had already decided to abandon ship hours earlier, citing Brexit betrayal as their breaking point. Some reportedly texted colleagues during the vote itself, trying to persuade them at the last possible second. Others sat in silence, their faces revealing nothing, their votes a mystery until the final count. Each ballot wasn't just a number on a screen. It was trust shattered, promises broken, loyalty abandoned, a foundation eroded beyond any hope of repair. Then the result dropped. Starmer lost, his leadership officially in ruins. The chamber erupted, gasps of shock, cheers of vindication, stunned silence from those who couldn't quite believe what they'd just witnessed. MPs who'd maintained careful neutrality just hours earlier now openly demanded his resignation, their statements drafted and ready to release the moment the result was confirmed. The floodgates opened, years of suppressed frustration and anger pouring out in a torrent of recrimination and blame. Social media exploded instantly. Starmer finished and no confidence trended globally within minutes. The nation and the world watched a political leader fall in real time, captured from every angle, dissected in every medium, memed and shared and analysed until the image of Starmer's defeat became iconic. Reform UK capitalised immediately with military precision. Farage called Starmer the ultimate traitor in a press conference that lasted nearly an hour, laying out his vision for a Britain freed from establishment politicians willing to compromise on sovereignty. Richard Tice declared only reform could protect Britain's independence from leaders who'd proven themselves willing to sell out for political convenience. Poll numbers surged overnight as voters responded to what many saw as final proof that old Labour couldn't be trusted on the issue that mattered most. The Conservatives observed in quiet satisfaction, party strategists already wargaming how Starmer's downfall hands them advantages they couldn't have manufactured themselves. Internal polling shows Conservative Labour swing voters now open to staying home or even backing reform. The political calculus has shifted overnight. But the real damage goes far deeper than one fallen leader or one party's crisis. Communities that believed Labour's promises felt abandoned and deceived. Coastal towns where fishing isn't just an industry but an identity. Industrial heartlands where Brexit represented finally being heard after decades of decline. Cities that once bled Labour red now erupting in protest, their fury spilling into local branches, town halls and social media platforms. The betrayal narrative spread like wildfire, fueling reform's rise and creating a trust vacuum that traditional parties may never fill. Analysts warn this political earthquake could destabilise Britain's entire two-party system, empower insurgent movements that promise to smash the establishment that betrayed them, give voters reason to abandon not just Labour, but the entire political class that's dominated Britain for generations. Starmer's collapse isn't just a Labour crisis. It's a national reckoning with the nature of political trust itself. As the dust settles, questions dominate every conversation. Who rises from these ashes? Which movement harnesses this anger? Can Labour survive as a credible opposition, let alone a government in waiting? Will Reform UK transform from protest party to genuine power, capable of winning not just seats but actual influence? And most critically, has Brexit become the ultimate political third rail that destroys anyone who dares touch it? One thing is crystal clear. Betray the people's trust on Brexit, and the consequences are swift, brutal, and unforgiving. Starmer learned that the hard way. His leadership lies in ruins, his party in open civil war, and Britain's political future hanging in balance, uncertain and volatile. This is the new reality of British politics. One secret deal, one vote. Years of careful strategy evaporated in a single night of chaos and fury. The old rules don't apply anymore. The old certainties have crumbled. And what comes next is anyone's guess. Here's what you need to do right now. If you think Starmer betrayed Brexit, drop your thoughts in the comments below. I want to know if you saw this coming or if it shocked you. If you believe this is Labour's final implosion or just another crisis they'll survive, tell me why. And if you want the truth on what happens next, who takes power, which party rises from this chaos, and whether Britain's political system survives this earthquake intact, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Because this story is far from over. The succession battle is just beginning. The general election implications are massive. And the next chapter of British politics is being written right now. The revolution has just begun. And you don't want to miss what comes next.